For the most part, J.K. Rowling has done a great job tying the aspects of her story together tightly, with little wiggle room for plot holes to form. Given the flexible nature of the world she's developed, anytime something resembling a plot hole is discovered, she is usually able to explain it away by revealing some aspect of magic the readers had previously been unaware of. So, what we're doing today is not addressing plot holes per se, rather, we are asking a few burning questions that come up when reading the series. Don't hesitate to take to the comments section if you've thought of some of these yourself, or if you have your own questions to add. Number 1. Why doesn't Quirrell just kill Fluffy? By the time we meet Professor Quirrell in the first book, he is fully devoted to Voldemort, and the only thing standing in the way of reviving his new master is an enormous three-headed dog named Fluffy. Keep in mind that Quirrell is completely under Voldemort's command when he meets Fluffy, and will do whatever his master asks. So, if you were thinking that Quirrell's not using of the Avada Kedavra curse on the massive canine was an act of compassion, it would have to be Voldemort himself who's being the animal lover in this scenario. Doesn't seem likely. Perhaps Avada Kedavra doesn't work on certain magical creatures, but surely there must be some deadly curse Quirrell could perform that would take care of the dog. Instead, he spends the entire year concocting an elaborate plan to learn that the vicious beast will fall instantly to sleep at the sound of music. Seems like killing it would have been a lot easier. Number 2. Did Ron beat McGonagall at chess? Ron Weasley is widely considered to be a bit less intelligent than his two friends. I personally don't agree with this, and for the full explanation of why, see my video, Why J.K. Rowling is Wrong About Ron and Hermione. If you don't feel like doing that, then consider this. If Ron is so dumb, how is he able to routinely trounce Harry and Hermione in chess? This isn't simply a matter of him knowing how to play the game. Even several years into their academic careers, Ron is still able to dominate his friends. In fact, he's so good at chess that he can beat a giant chess set charmed by their head of house, Minerva McGonagall, to guard the Sorcerer's Stone. How good do you think McGonagall charmed that chess set to play? I'm willing to bet she made it as good as she possibly could, which is to say that she charmed it to play as well as she could. So Ron, as a 12-year-old boy, who is generally considered to be a bit of a bonehead, beat McGonagall, an esteemed professor who was almost sorted into Ravenclaw for her powerful intellect. Number 3. Does Hogwarts have a really rigid system for stripping people of awards and honors or something? In our world, if you are given some honor, such as, say, a Nobel Prize, and then do something terrible later, like, say, attempt genocide, you will have that honor stripped away from you. In the wizarding world, this isn't so, which we see in Chamber of Secrets, where Ron, once again displaying a surprisingly high level of brainpower, recalls seeing the name Tom Riddle on a shield in the school's trophy room. This was an award given to Mr. Riddle for services to the school, in which he caught the culprit who had unleashed a monster that got a student killed. Of course, it turned out later that he actually framed that culprit and unleashed the monster himself, but no one knew that until Harry Potter came along 50 years later. What they did know, however, was that Tom Riddle went on to become Lord Voldemort, the most powerful and dreaded dark wizard of all time, and yet, despite the actual attempting genocide and his open war against the Ministry of Magic, Riddle's award still hung proudly in the halls of Hogwarts. There must be, like, a really long and arduous appeals process to get one of those things taken down. Number 4. Why are people so uneducated about werewolves? In Book 1, Draco expresses his fear of running into werewolves during their detention in the dark forest. To calm his fears, all he would have needed to do was ask himself one simple question. Is it a full moon? If the answer is no, then he has nothing to worry about, since werewolves only transform during the full moon. So Draco is essentially afraid of running into homeless people living in the woods, which I suppose still makes sense given his family's status and his general arrogance. What doesn't make sense is in Book 2, when Tom Riddle, one of the most educated wizards in the series, muses about Hagrid's propensity for dangerous creatures and imagines him keeping werewolf cubs under his bed as a student. So, babies. We're talking about him keeping human babies underneath his bed that, once a month, would transform into what I can only imagine would be adorable yet vicious werewolf puppies. Number 5. Did anyone ever die assuming something was a boggart that wasn't? I want you to picture this scene. James Potter is sitting on his sofa, his wife having just taken baby Harry up to bed. Suddenly, the door bursts open, and his greatest fear stands before him, Lord Voldemort. He grabs his wand and jumps to his feet. Ridiculous! Voldemort raises an eyebrow. James says, I was hoping perhaps you were a boggart. Then a flash of green light. A bit of a silly example, perhaps, and not really accurate, since boggarts like to hide in small, confined spaces rather than come in from the outside. But really, in a world where dangerous creatures actually could jump out of your wardrobe at you, should your first instinct be to assume it is actually a harmless shapeshifter? If you open your closet and a werewolf jumps out at you, sectum sempra his ass. If a dementor pops out of your school trunk, sick your Patronus on him. Even if it ends up being a boggart, it's not like it's going to hurt you to use a more powerful and generally applicable spell than to use the one that is only effective on boggarts. Well, what do you think? Are there already answers to some of these questions? Have I sufficiently blown your mind, perhaps? Or, more likely, are you just sitting there mildly entertained and about to Google fan theories about the MCU? In any case, what are some of your ideas for answers to these questions? What are some questions of your own? Leave a comment below to let me know. Give me a thumbs up to show your support, or subscribe to hear more from Fandom Canon. But whatever you do, thanks for watching.